It's amazing. So relax for a moment, and I take a look at a couple of these verses. Oh, these become a couple of my favorite verses. Ask the beasts. Imagine that. Ask the beasts, and they will teach you. Have you ever thought that the animals of the field could teach you? And the fowls of the air, they can tell you. Or speak to the earth, and it shall teach you. And the fishes of the sea shall declare unto you. Now, the question is, what do the beasts teach? What do the fowls say? What does the earth teach? And what do the fishes declare? And the next verse gives us the answer to that. Who knows not in all these things that the hand of the Lord has made this? And now this astounding verse. In whose hand, that is the hand of the Lord, is the soul of every living thing, and the breath of all mankind. So I'm not sure what the hands of the Lord look like. I doubt it looks like this. We get this picture from Jeremiah of the hands of the Lord. But I'm not sure what the hands of the Lord look like, but he has made a lot of beasts of the field, a lot of fowls of the air, a lot of things in the earth, and a lot of fishes in the sea. And this is one of his creations, the monarch butterfly. And I'm not sure there's a child that has never chased a monarch butterfly. They are beautiful, to say the least. They're one of 236,000 species that the Lord has made. In other words, if you really want to know and study all the creativity of the Lord, you'd have to. I don't know what percentage of the 236,000 are fish, or are animals, or are birds. But you'd have to look at 236,000 of his creations, and each one of them will tell you something. This morning we're looking at the butterfly, the monarch butterfly. Now, it's kind of an interesting little character. Designed by God, he has a lifespan, once he comes out of this cocoon, of up to 4 weeks, not always 4 weeks. One of the interesting things about monarch is that they feed off of milkweed. And in the milkweed, as they ingest and digest the milkweed, it produces a poison in them which prevents anything else from being a predator. And so the frogs don't eat them because they're poison. Snakes don't bite at them because they're poison. So these little guys are free for 8 weeks, carefree, to just flit from one flower to another. But something happens to them. They create once a year what's called a Methuselah generation, and this generation of monarchs, they feast on nectar and fill up on it. And instead of living 4 weeks, they live 10 times longer. They live 8 months. It's only, they live longer than their parents, they live longer than their grandparents, they outlast generations. They call it by the scientists, call it the Methuselah generation. Now, there's a reason why they are called the Methuselah generation, because they have, for their generation, a function and a role that the other generations of monarchs do not have. And that is, they have to travel. And it starts off in September, usually October, when it starts to get chilly and food starts to get scarce. They start to travel up to 100 kilometers, that's like 65 miles a day. And they actually they travel on routes they have never been before. Now this is really intriguing on how do they find their way. They are divided into two categories, those that are west of the Rocky Mountains and those that are east of the Rocky Mountains, two different destinations. But what's kind of interesting about them is that they have what's called a built-in time-compensated sun camp compass, so how to know which way to go. Now, you can always tell if you live in the northern hemisphere, you can always tell which way is south. Because at 12 o'clock noon, the sun is always south. But if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you can't go by the sun any longer because it has moved towards the western sky. And so, but if you have a clock, if you have a watch, you can know exactly where south is. Here's what you do. You set the hour hand of your watch on the sun. And then at the halfway point between the hourglass, the hour hand, and the 12 o'clock, that is exactly south. Now these little creatures have this all built into by God. And it's kind of interesting to read the science of it because it's all wrapped up in their antenna and in that part, and because they also, so they have they don't wear watches, so they have this built-in clock. And this built-in clock is also is synchronized to the rotation of the earth. So even if the sun's behind clouds, they can tell which way south is, and they head south. So their destiny is up to 4,000 kilometers away. That's 3,000 miles. And the thing, of course, that endangers them, like any traveler, is weather and lack of food and so on. But that is exactly what they do. And they all head to roughly the same destination. The ones west of the Rockies head for California, and those monarchs, and how many of them? Over 500 million of them, east of the Rockies, all head to Mexico. And so they are in flight on their way to this, and they stop, and they feed, and they go, and when they get to Mexico, they arrive in about 3 different locations that are very close together, and they attach themselves to the fir trees or to whatever vegetation is there. And that's where they spend the winter, and most of that time is sleeping and just eating and enjoying life. And then they return back to Florida and to Canada, if you can imagine that, and New York, and all the states of the Union, and carry on the next generation that only lives 4 weeks. Me. Simply one of the 236,000 species that God